So you were a little kid, and in your neighborhood there was this big house. Well, not actually in your neighborhood, just nearby there was this big house with big windows. And everyone said, and these other kids said that rich people live over there. And when you were a small kid, you wanted to live in a big house like that. When you were a grown individual. When you were a grown up, you wanted to live in a house like that. That was your goal. Well, you forgot about it because your parents moved. You graduated college. Now you had a job. You also married. And then one day you drive by in your old neighborhood and you see that house. And you pointed to your wife and said, "Honey, this is the house I looked at when I was a kid and I thought I want to make it." But a lot of things changed since then. And your wife looks at the building and your wife asks you, Robert, let's say your name is Robert, how often did you see actual people moving in that house? You look at your wife and your wife says, "Yeah, seriously, I'm asking you, how often did you actually see people moving in that house or people visit that place?" Then Robert says, you say to your wife, "Dear, I was a kid. How do you expect me to remember that?" Then your wife asks you again and said, "Well, I never really saw anyone in this house." Then your wife tells you, "Robert, don't you think that's a bit weird? You have a big house like this. Who maintains it? Because you need to clean the windows, you need to maintain the garden. That's expensive. How come you have an expensive house like this and nobody comes at it? It comes in it. There's no traffic. Something's wrong here." You brush it off, but when you both were at home, you realized, hold on a minute. You realized that after you walked home from school, you were just at primary school, and you looked at the house, but you never saw anyone entering or leaving the house. And at night, lights went on and off, but you never really saw a human being over there. As a kid, you didn't pay much attention to it, but now that you are in your late 20s, you think, hold on, this is bad news. Now, what I'm talking about in this video are anomalies in your neighborhood. When you notice an anomaly in your neighborhood, don't ignore it. It's sad that I need to teach you this. However, most of us, not all of us, but most of us have been conditioned by society to mind our own business. So that means when we notice that something doesn't add up, we are conditioned and programmed to walk away and pretend as if we didn't hear, see, nor sense anything that was out of line. We are told to shut up and even to pretend as if we didn't see anything, even when the anomaly is happening right in front of us. And we are rewarded for doing that. And if we don't comply, we're punished. We're accused. Some of us even had physical violence exercised upon us by our parents if we were involved in business that weren't ours. This conditioning conditioned you to not see evil. You know about the 3 wise monkeys? Hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. That is how many are conditioned, and this conditioning is harmful. That's why a lot of people go missing. That's why a lot of children are abducted and they end up as human sacrifices. That's why the human population is in this loop of self-destructive violence, in this loop of collective domestic violence, and we don't get out of it because we are conditioned by society to enable it, to enable the violence around us. Look, when you notice something in your neighborhood that doesn't add up, document it. If you have your smartphone with you, make a picture of the situation. Not too obvious that people can know that you made a picture because that may draw negative attention, but pretend to text someone on your phone and make a picture of it. And once you made a picture of it, save it on your Google Drive or somewhere where you can't lose the data. Okay? Then make notes of it online. Not on Facebook that you're going to dump it immediately so everyone can see it, but make notes of it online, because online, in your email, you can find it back. If you write on a piece of paper, that's handy also, but you may lose a piece of paper. Make notes of it. And once in a while, pay attention to it. If it's a house that's there, that's always clean. Even the curtains are open, you can see on the inside that it's clean, that it's well maintained. But you never see anyone actually living in that house. Pay attention to the house every time you come home from work. And if you notice anyone coming to the house suddenly, note it also. Note what they were wearing. Note their length of their body. You don't actually know their length, but how you think their length is based on your perception. What hair color they have. How do they look like? If they have a car, note the license plate. The number on the license plate, I mean. Do such things. Document anomalies. It is because folks don't document anomalies that Satan and his minions can go ahead without being challenged in killing, stealing, and destroying folks. And we enable it because we want to be good citizens, good people who don't mind other people's business. Unlearn that BS. Of course, there are some times where you don't get involved because it's not wise for you to get involved. That's true. But even when you don't get involved, you should pay attention to anomalies around you. You should. Just think about this, okay? Let's say you have a news report. And in this news report, the news reporter tells you that over 200 children went missing from a place called Livington. I just make up a name now. And then you think, well, Livington, it sounds like a very big city, so of course, yeah, 200 children can go missing. People are going to their jobs every day. They're not always at home. But then you go to Google Maps, and on Google Maps you find out that Livington is a small town of around 2,000 people only. And then you think, huh? Then you think, okay, either this is fake news, or something doesn't add up with this town. There are only around 2,000 people living there. And then someone corrects you, no, it's 2,000 households. So there are around 5,000 people or 6,000 people living over there. But then you think, okay, even if it's 6,000 people living over there, how can those 6,000 people not notice that 200 kids went missing from their community? And it's then that you realize that that community is sick. Because folk are so busy with themselves and with their own relief, they don't have any clue what's going on around them. Of the 6,200 people that live over there, 2,000 of them were kids. So there were many kids over there. So 10% of the kids went missing. They disappeared in a period of 5 years. And the people didn't even notice it. So when the police came to investigate the disappearings, they were suspecting everyone of involvement. Because the detectives, or I'm saying the investigators were saying it can't be that 10% of the children disappear within 5 years and nobody noticed anything. Someone must be aware of what's going on, but it's just not talking. Now look, when you notice an anomaly, I said it before, document it. It's when you document it that you'll see what's going on around you. Don't you know that kidnappers document the environment before they decide to kidnap someone? Kidnappers don't just go into a van, drive into some town, and think today we're going to kidnap a 20-year-old blonde female. They're not doing that. They will pass by as pedestrians. They may even pretend to be tourists. And they'll check and document things in the environment. Before there were smartphones, they would just walk around. They didn't really make pictures because people would notice when you're making pictures with those Polaroid cameras. They would just walk around. and they would make notes. And they would walk around a few times. Not always the same people. Maybe let's say it's a gang of 10 people. First, the 2 are going into a neighborhood. Then, another 2. Another week, another 2. And they would examine the neighborhood first. And while examining, they'll notice the patterns of some of the people. It can be that this is a young woman, 22, brown hair. And every day she ends work at 6:30. And around 7 o'clock, she's arriving at home from the tram. So they notice that pattern that it is this brunette woman that comes from the tram every day at 7 p.m. And they notice that at that time, everyone is inside watching TV. I mean, in the street where that woman enters her house. So the kidnappers, based on this data, one day come up with a plan to await her from work. And while she's walking home, one elderly man, so-called, stops her and asks for help. And obviously help the elderly man, she walks home, and when she opens the door and closes it behind her, they put the bag on her head and she's kidnapped. What happened? That elderly man was part of the plot to distract her. Because if she would have walked home, just like that, tired, her whole focus would be on the door. And she would have noticed and may have sensed that something's wrong with her house. But because she was distracted by helping the elderly man, she thought she was doing the right thing, so she felt happy. She was distracted. She was blinded from noticing anything else. Kidnappers, or evildoers in general, when they want to be successful, because not all evildoers are successful, not all evildoers are intelligent, but evildoers who want to be successful, like kidnappers or pagan businessmen, they document the territory before they launch their project. Why aren't believers documenting the anomalies around them? Christ said to be watchful. Now, why aren't we watchful? Unlearn the sick programming of the world, which promotes apathy and self-destruction. Agree with Christ and be at peace.